All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining today. I'm Matt Artz, and I'm with Oscar Barrera today. Oscar is a business anthropologist out of Mexico and the owner of, you might have to help me here, but Apamada Consulting.
No, actually,
Yeah, please.
I changed my brand. Now it's Antropología Corporativa or Corporate Anthropology. I changed it a few years ago, and yeah, precisely because Apamada was a difficult name for people to relate to, so that's why I changed it.
Got it. Okay, well, thanks for correcting me. Sorry about that. So why don't you maybe use that as a jumping off point? Can you give us a little background on, education, anthropology education, your career, how you started your business?
Okay, well, let's start how I became an anthropologist. I actually, when I graduated from college, I majored in tourism studies, in planning and development. So I went to the highlands of Chiapas with the idea of creating a developing project for indigenous peoples, indigenous communities, an indigenous village called Chamula, San Juan Chamula. So the idea that I had at that time, because I was young and naive, I wanted to change the world. I thought that by creating a project, a developing project where indigenous people could create their own infrastructure to cater tourists, I don't know, from room and board or hotels or restaurants, or I don't know, just to create economic options and possibilities for indigenous people to benefit from tourism. I thought that was a very about a positive kind of contribution that I could make after finishing studies in university. So I came in touch with anthropologists in the highlands of Chiapas, and I met many of them who questioned the purpose of my endeavors. And actually, there was one anthropologist that he said, "Oscar, this sounds very very kind and very altruistic what you're doing for these people. But have you ever asked them what do they think of tourists? Maybe they don't. If all these years, if for all these decades, that if they haven't developed a tourism industry on their own, it's because maybe they have certain beliefs and they have certain world vision that maybe they are not interested to relate to tourists. Maybe they are just happy by keeping them at distance and just being an object of tourism as opposed to subject of tourism, because the tourists go there to snap pictures and buy maybe a few textiles, but pretty much going there is like visiting a human zoo. So these anthropologists really challenged me. It's like maybe you must pursue an explanation why these indigenous people they don't seem to have this business kind of mentality. What's behind that? It's not because they are dumb or stupid, but maybe they are not interested. You should find out about that. So with that framework, without any anthropological training, I began studying the indigenous perceptions on tourists, and actually the reciprocal views, how each other they construct in their imagination. So that's how I met Peter Vandenberg, professor of anthropology at the University of Washington and sociology. So we met, and he wrote the book, The Quest of the Other, a very famous book in the 90s. And he was actually one of the pioneers in anthropology, in tourism anthropology, tourism anthropology. So after I finished my thesis, I sent him a copy, and he was very happy and excited. So he invited me to join the the PhD program of in the University of Washington. So that's how I end up studying anthropology because of these altruistic kind of desires. But at the end, I found myself being very naive, not understanding people's agendas and people's worldviews. And anthropology changed my life. And after I finished my PhD, I decided to work for international organizations to do developing work in Africa and Latin America, because I speak English, French, and German. So I thought that I wouldn't have any problems finding a job. But that year that I was pursuing that, these international organizations had no budgets. So I couldn't find any positions. They were interested in my qualifications and credentials. However, there was no job for me. So I decided, thanks to the advice of a friend of mine, I decided to create the job of my dreams. So I started my own business anthropology consulting.
That's great.
That's how I became an anthropologist.
It's a great story. And so, what is business anthropology to you? How would you define it?
Business anthropology. I think you use the anthropological techniques, theories, and methods in order to help entrepreneurs, in order to help society, communities to better off through economic means. I mean, in my practice as a corporate anthropologist, I help not only entrepreneurs to make money, but I help entrepreneurs to create an impact for their employees, an impact for the community, an impact for the environment, an impact for the planet. For me, that's business anthropology. How we use the techniques, theories, and methods in order to create an impact for the well-being of humans and the planet.
And the PhD program, did you ever come across any of the literature, business anthropology literature during the course of that, or did you find all of that on your own?
No, actually, I must confess, I had a very interesting experience in business when I was in graduate school. I was finishing my doctoral dissertation, and I was never exposed to business other than the typical anthropological studies of studying labor unions or studying customer consumption, things like that, but no business, only studying the actors that are involved in business, but not studying business themselves from the anthropological perspective. So when I was finishing my doctoral dissertation, the chair of my doctoral committee said, "Oh, you should talk to this girl that graduated last year, and she's working for a corporation. Maybe she will have some insights about you after finishing your PhD." So I went to talk to her, and she was working for, she was in the dark side. She was working for these major corporations that worked for McDonald's and all these big corporations that were making a bunch of money. And I found it troublesome how an anthropologist was working for corporations when all my anthropological formation and vision was against capitalism, to empower the powerless, to give voice to the voiceless. So I had this kind of like an epistemological and ethical kind of conflict when I was listening to her story. And I said, "Why are you doing that? I mean, why are you working for these corporations?" And she said, "Oscar, let me tell you a story." She said, "First of all, we are working with McDonald's to expand all over Latin America. And me as an anthropologist, I have the insights of how to create better menus for the health of the people, how to use materials and sources that are from that are produced locally as opposed to being imported. So as an anthropologist, we can help these companies with a more ethical kind of approach, with a more socially and culturally sensitivity, so to speak. And then she said something to me that I found it very very. It was like it was a crossroad for me in my anthropological kind of way of seeing anthropology in business. She said, "Oscar, I must confess that when I was working on my dissertation, because she did her dissertation on business or studying a company, she said, these business show up to do this research, but I felt incapable. I mean, I felt like I was not entirely qualified. So I asked my advisors of my doctoral committee if they want to join in and do the research. And it was good money. It was very good money. But my advisor said, okay, we're going to do this, but please keep it quiet. Don't spread the word. Because it was not well seen. And I said, really? And after, years later, I had to deal myself with this conflict, ethical conflict. Okay, like, because my formation was to help to the powerless, give voice to the voiceless, but also how am I supposed to help these companies to make money even at the expense of people? So I had to really, it took me a few years to really adjust all these paradigms in my brain. And then I came to the realization that, yes, it's like fire. You can use fire, and fire using fire as a metaphor of anthropology. You can use fire to heat when you are, to create warmth when you are cold, to cook, or to create something wonderful. Or you can use fire to burn the house and destroy something. So it matters your agenda. It matters what your purpose, your intention, your motivation, what's behind your intention of using anthropological tools for any situation, company, or circumstance.
So, how do you choose to use that fire today? What's your main sort of driver? What are you trying to do with your practice?
Well, after bouncing from different kind of ways, because I started actually as an anthropologist. You just listen to this. I started business anthropology. I started my consulting in a very naive way, because I said, well, I'm an anthropologist, I'm ethical. So what's the best thing I could do is sustainability. I will help companies to be sustainable. Mm-hmm. But that thing doesn't sell. That thing doesn't sell. So I spent almost a year trying to make a business out of nothing. Because nobody was interested, even less in Mexico, and even less in this small city that I live in. Everybody is just after the money. Nobody cares about the impact. Nobody cares about the environment. Well, I am exaggerating, right? But the point is, like, years ago, well, 7 years ago, you cannot make a living with that perspective, with that paradigm. So I had some very tiny projects here and there, but I was broke. That was not. It didn't give me any business to survive, so I had to change. So I decided to focus on something that I'm really passionate about, which is creativity and innovation. So I help companies to innovate, whether to study better their customers' minds, their customers' behaviors, to how they can develop better products, better services for the well-being of their customers, how they can transform their culture of their own companies to better cater and to better resolve their customers' problems and to offer solutions. So I became a problem solver for companies, and I have focused on two things. One is culture change in companies, and the other one is innovation and creativity on products. Mm-hmm. How companies can create more powerful products, how they can create an irresistible offer, and how can they provide better solutions for their clients.
Great. So, in there you talked about some of the challenges you had when you started the business, particularly around sustainability. Mm-hmm. But as you pivoted to the new sort of value proposition, what did you do to help sell that to, in your case, your clients? How did you convince them that anthropology would bring value to the projects?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a learning curve. At the beginning, I was selling anthropology, and then I realized that it doesn't work. And then I was selling just sustainability solutions. And that thing didn't sell either. So when I began focusing on companies' problems, company solutions, on customers' challenges, then people start to listen to me for the solutions that I offered. And later, people found out that I was an anthropologist. Later, people learned that what I was doing, and I was introducing these pieces of, this is anthropology. I am an anthropologist. I'm not just an ordinary consultant. I am an anthropologist, and this is the insights that I bring to you. So at the beginning, I had to just hide, so to speak, the term anthropology, because even I lost clients using that term. It's like what is that anthropology? I remember there was I did this proposal for a very compelling proposal for this company that they rent buses and cars to companies. So I said, well, let's use anthropology to understand your customer's experience. Let's create an extraordinary, a wow experience for your customers. And we're going to use anthropological tools. So I gave him my speech, I gave him my presentation, my value proposition. And he said, oh yeah, now I understand what anthropology is about. Oh, that's okay. At the beginning, I was kind of confused. What the heck was that? He said, but I have two more business partners, and I have to show your proposal to my business partners. So after 2 weeks, he came back to me and said, Oscar, my business partners don't understand what anthropology is, and they said that it sounds too weird. So I think we're gonna skip it for right now. Let's maybe later. And I said to myself, well, don't call it anthropology. I'm not selling you anthropology. I'm selling you a solution to create extraordinary experiences for your clients. But they didn't see it. So what I had to do is I had to be very sensitive to see with whom I was dealing with, or who I was dealing with. Because some people were okay, they were ready to listen more about anthropology. For others, it was just better not to speak about it. And I had to learn how to be very sensitive and to understand better my client and to provide my client with information that was needed in order to offer him the solution that he or she needed, as opposed to me selling my wonderful business anthropological product. You see what I mean?
Yeah, sure. And so how do you size up that situation? How do you determine if your identity in some way should be, anthropology led, or if you should maybe lead with something else?
Mm-hmm. Well, I have two ways to answer that question. One is the way I use my marketing, and the other one is when I am I am sitting in front of a client. When I am sitting in front of a client, I'm reading my customers' behaviors, body movements, his voice. I listen to everything. I read everything. I almost psychic. I literally I study my client, who I am sitting with, very, very carefully. And I do it in a very ethical way. I do it in a very professional way. I'm not, my business is not about cheating or about coercing people. My business is about offering solutions and transform peoples and their companies for the well-being of all the stakeholders. Literally, that's my goal. That's my mission. So I become very, very aware of everything that is happening, and I always have my mobile off. I get no distractions. I am in there with all my 5 senses with my client, and I just provide them the information that they need. Instead of focusing on I'm selling anthropology. I just focus like what they need. So on the other hand, with my marketing, I do both. I talk a little bit about I offer anthropological solutions, but most of the time, I would say maybe 60% of my marketing is about the solutions that I offer, and I don't use the name or the label anthropology because the market is not ready yet. I mean, in Mexico and internationally, I would say. People still don't know what anthropology is. So I'm very careful when I use it, how I use it with my clients and in my marketing. I focus more on solutions as opposed to selling anthropology.
And so, since you are very much focused on delivering value to all stakeholders, what do you think you contribute as a business anthropologist that's beyond just research? What else to the business do you provide or to the stakeholders ultimately?
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I became to the realization, this is very interesting. I came to realize that anthropology provides an amazing insights. These amazing insights to a business due to the systematic or due to the systemic approach. And let me give you an example. I was working with a company that is which sell medical equipment. They import medical equipment from China and they sell it to hospitals, clinics, and doctors here in Mexico. So for years, this company was growing in the market, but their strategy was sales or price strategy. They compete in the market by price. And it was very exhausting. They were growing, but every time they had to just release a promotion, a sale, a discount, and it was very, very exhausting. Even the sales force, when I talked to the salespeople, they said that they needed a discount or they needed a sale in order to make business. Otherwise, they couldn't sell anything. So that was their paradigm. So my project and my mission was to create a new business model for this company. How could they sell their equipment within a different logic that goes beyond the price? What can they offer to their customers, to doctors and hospitals, to say, okay, I will buy this equipment because fill up the blank. So I I created this project, and this company really trusts me, and I had done previous work with them, and so they had no problems giving myself a shot and say, okay, we're going to invest with this guy because he seems to be smart. So they paid all my expenses, and I traveled to 5 different cities in Mexico, and I conducted research in hospitals, interviewing doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals in 5 cities about their problems, the problems they experience with their equipment, with the medical equipment. And interesting enough, I discovered that these hospitals and these people have no problem with equipment. The equipment just works fine. The problems and the challenges they face is with the people that manage the equipment. They are the problem. They are the source of the problem. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, several hospitals, they rent their surgery rooms to doctors, so outside doctors who want to perform a surgery for their own patients. So they rent these surgery rooms, and they mistreat the equipment. They break it, they pull the cord, they destroy it. They don't care. And also another issue that I discovered was that nurses, there is a huge role. What's the word that I forgot the word in English? This it's called rotation. Like the nurses, they get hired and they get fired or they quit all the time.
Yeah,
turnover, right? There's a tremendous turnover of nurses. So that's a problem. The retention level in hospitals is very low with regards to nurses. So every time they hire a new nurse, they need to train the nurse how to manage, how to handle the equipment. So they lose time, and after 3 months of the training and where the nurse has a good command of the equipment, she leaves the hospital and a new one gets hired. So I discovered all these subtleties, all these challenges that the medical equipment company could provide some value, some solutions. So when I returned after my research and I gave them a presentation of all my findings, and I said, your business model should shift from selling equipment to offering solutions. You must focus on the pain points of your clients, of the hospitals, like the nurses turnover, like the carelessness of the doctors in the surgery room. You must offer them with solutions. So here comes the anthropological insights and also Oscar's own crazy ideas and creativity. Because I said, you forget about the business that you are in right now. Forget about that you're selling equipment. Now your business is going to be, I said, okay, now your business is going to be, we offer solutions for the turnover of nurses. And we offer you training 24 hours, 365 days of the year, 24/7. And the owner of the medical equipment company said, like, how the hell are we going to do that? And I said, well, no problem. We live in a virtual world. Let's create tutorials. And let's put them on the web. And your clients will have this password. And with this password, they will have access to this database of video tutorials with trainings on how to use the equipment. So, because also one of the things that I observed during my research was that the healthcare professionals have no time. They are always running. So I said, if we offer them in situ training is going to be very hard because they are so busy. So let's offer them something on the web virtually that they can use on demand. So that's what the medical equipment company did. They created these videos, they put it on the web, and now they sell solutions for their hospitals on the different problems that the nurses and the doctors in general, all the healthcare professionals experience when dealing with equipment.
Yeah, great.
And sometimes, even in an interview that I had with this engineer that fixes all the equipment in a hospital, this was in Monterrey, Mexico. He said, the nurses and the doctors are so mad that this equipment do not work. This equipment doesn't work. So when I go there and I say, hey guys, did you plug it? It wasn't plugged. But they were pissed. They were pissed because it was a piece of shit equipment. So I said, really? They said, yeah, it happens all the time, Oscar. It happens all the time. So I said, okay. So this idea of offering solutions through video tutorials was very powerful. And nowadays, the company has shifted their business model to not to sell price, they sell solutions, and they have been very successful. And with the pandemic, they are selling more. I think this year was better than the last year. They sold way more than last year. Focusing on these solutions.
So in there, you made the comment about, after you did your research, you kind of came back and, you sort of, you gave them some crazy, ideas from yourself, but really there's a process of course, of getting from insights to, recommendations. And so what does that look like for you? Are you using social theory to help sort of inform that, all the time, some of the times, none of the time?
Well, it depends on the client. Usually I don't. As I said, I'm very sensitive about I'm very sensitive about when I should open my mouth and when I should not, because I know also by self-experience that it's not good to offer a client with solutions. It's better to guide your client to come up to arrive to his own solutions. But also by experience, I have noticed that sometimes my clients and the people I work with, they have this vision in which they don't know other than their business, and their problem is that they know too much. They know too much of their business. So in that case, I have to push them and I have to brainstorm and offering my own brilliant ideas because they cannot see anything else. Unlike for instance, talking to the sales personnel for the medical equipment company, they couldn't see themselves selling in any other way than just giving discounts to hospitals and doctors. When I asked them to do, I conducted a workshop to come up with ideas. They have none, no ideas, because they were not exposed to other ways of being, to other ways of seeing, other ways of thinking. So they didn't know better. So I had to expose them with empirical data and with some ideas to get some momentum going and create something new, and create a new business model.
So that maybe the data relates to what I was just going to ask there, which is, how do you go about really selling that? So oftentimes we do come up with recommendations, and sometimes those recommendations are obviously not adopted. Do you have any strategies for really selling your recommendations and if you've tried many, have any worked better than the others?
Yeah, sometimes you sell, sometimes you do recommendations, or sometimes I do recommendations, and I think my ideas are great, but my clients sometimes, they also agree with me that they are great, but they are so complicated to pursue because they don't have the capacity, they don't have the personnel. It implies more work than what they are currently doing, and they are too busy to do more. So in that respect, then I have to just be very realistic about helping my clients to do what they realistically can do, and push them a little bit further, and push them a little bit to the stretch where they can grow. Otherwise, they wouldn't hire me again because I need to show them results, right? So I can give you another example of a case that I give them some ideas, and they were so excited, but at the end they didn't follow. Like a company that they sell lab tests. This is a laboratory company that sells lab tests, like blood tests, urine tests, all kinds of tests. So they have this problem with the competition. Some corporations moving to the city, and year after year they were losing market share. So they say, Oscar, how can we do it? How can we compete with these corporations, because they are offering very low price services, and we cannot afford that. I mean, we cannot compete. We buy all these chemicals and all these products. We have to import them because all these materials and resources that we use for the tests, for the lab tests, are imported, and we buy them in dollars. Sometimes the dollar is not is more expensive, so we cannot compete. We cannot afford to offer discounts or less or reduce our prices. So I came up with the idea, because also they knew too much about their business. So I gave them some ideas, and one of the ideas was, let's offer a service to certain doctors that you are familiar, and let's offer them with a business offer. Let's offer them that you're going to be their private lab company. You're going to be an extension of their practice. So by being an extension, you're going to create a system in which you're going to deliver, you're going to provide all the results for the patients directly to the doctor and to the patients via WhatsApp, via email, and you're going to offer a percentage of the revenues to the doctor, and we're going to create a tracking system so the doctors can know how many referrals are sent to the lab company. So they really liked the idea, because they thought that the best way, we came to the realization that the best way to compete with this corporation is to be very specific and to narrow down a market niche, and let's working with some doctors with certain specialties, with some expertises, and let's just offer them a business for the referrals. And they really like the idea, but it was too much work. Apparently, they didn't follow through. They had to do all these visits and all this work with the doctors, and at the end, it didn't work out because the idea was great. They really liked it, but they went back to just competing with price.
So, you've given two examples there, and thanks for those. Appreciate, the real world examples. They always help. But in there, one project obviously has performed very well in terms of the outcomes for the organization. The other, they didn't accept the recommendations maybe, and maybe they're just sort of doing the same that they were always doing, and it's status quo. So how do you, in those situations, how do you gauge your own value, your own impact, and how do you think those clients gauge it?
Well, it's like a human being. There's so much I can do for somebody else. In the same way, as an anthropologist, there's only so much I can do for a company. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. I do always my best. I give them my 120% to a client, and sometimes is the chemistry. Sometimes it's because I failed on explaining myself or creating a good case of what I doing, helping or guiding my customers to do better for everybody. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. So in the case of this medical equipment company, it turned out very well because there were certain causes and conditions. There was, as I said, there was previous work with them. They trusted me. They knew that I was an intelligent guy that could provide them with some value. So, and I did everything I could in order to reaffirm what they believe about me, and also, and of course, and primarily, and the most important thing, to deliver results. So that was key. But in the other case, in the case of the lab company case, they didn't know me very well, and also I didn't know them very well. I tried to pursue them, to really try to help them, but they were not entirely, I would say, open to the call, to further pursue the consulting, because they probably thought that they knew better, or they could do it in a better way.
Sometimes they're not always ready to change.
Yeah, exactly.
So
even though, so it's like a religious conversion, right? Sometimes you succeed, sometimes you don't, right?
But so in there's a little bit of a topic that comes up oftentimes here in the New York area, where we are sort of talking about how we kind of sell this, what our value is, how, what we would want maybe hiring managers to know or clients to know. So, given your experiences, some positive, some that maybe didn't have the results that you would like to see and that they probably could have, how would you, if you had to summarize, what anthropology can contribute to an organization, what do you think that is? What would, if there's any non-anthropologists listening, like how would you sell them on it right now?
Mm-hmm. anthropology can help you to see things that as an entrepreneur you cannot see. You were able to find opportunities in the market. You will be able to understand better your own personnel. And you will have clarity on what's going on to provide value, whether to your clients or whether to your own company. I think value creation, I think, is the most is one of the most precious things that anthropologists do.
It's great.
Is value creation, how we can create value. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's hard to convey.
Yeah.
It's hard to convey, right? Because they sometimes people are hesitant or skeptical that what you are helping them to see can be true. Because they're like, oh, that sounds too beautiful to be true.
I hear you. And I appreciate that it is oftentimes hard to convey. And I think that relates also to younger anthropologists who maybe are students still, or early kind of mid-career, who maybe are potentially anthropologists that are not in business yet, but maybe looking to break in, or maybe they're looking to improve their career. So I appreciate you're at a consulting company. But for anybody, for any other anthropologist who's sort of looking to grow their career in this, do you think there are certain things that they should be doing or thinking about, any skills they should be acquiring, like any recommendations that you would give to people looking to get into the consulting space, or even just to work, for a larger organization?
Yeah, I think if you're going to go for the consulting realm, I would suggest first start your own business. Start your own business before you consult, before you guide another company or somebody else's to do things better. Do it your own with a company. Sell yourself lemonade. Sell products, socks, food, hardware. Sell something. Create your own business selling something, and apply the anthropological tools on your own business, on yourself, and get insights from that. And then you will have knowledge-based experience and knowledge-based information. So when you are with a client, a consulting client, you have some value to provide. Like, because in the past I have done this myself, it worked. So I think you as a client of mine might be worth to consider this based on my own experience with my own company.
And that's great, great advice. And so, considering you have your consulting company, and I know, as we were just chatting before we started recording, you mentioned you've started sort of a new venture recently to sell some products. So what do you think, and I suppose this will be my last question for you, but what do you think having the anthropology background actually brings to starting a business? How do you bring that toolkit to make the business successful?
I think because you are able to read between the lines. You're able to read between the lines. You're able to listen. Let's say in terms of marketing, you're able to listen the customers and transform your customers' opinions, customers' perceptions to enrich your marketing strategy. Let me give you an example. As I was telling you, I'm selling some a traditional dish for these holidays, Christmas holidays and New Year's, and some of the customers mentioned like, "Oh, the dish was just delicious," and I was amazed that it was very kind and gentle with my stomach. It didn't burn because we use this mole, this sauce, and usually this sauce is very spicy and it's very tough for the stomach. So when I listened to that, I immediately create a campaign in my social media, like, this dish with the sauce is very kind and gentle. It's very kind and gentle. So you use all this information from their customers and you just throw it back at them to generate more traffic, to generate more traction. Mm-hmm. So I think anthropology can help you to see and read, because I have this information. I have seen it with clients, with consulting clients, and they just say, "Oh, this is a customer is just complaining." Yeah, but listen to the complaint. You can create some value out of this complaint, and not just throw it away because it's a complaint and this customer is just stupid. They don't understand our product or our service. So I think as an anthropologist, you are able to use that data, turn it into information, and create value for your customers and for your own business and your own
great
company.
Advice. So, Oscar, is there anywhere or anything you're involved in right now that you would like to sort of mention or call out?
I think we're living an amazing moments right now with all the pandemic. I think anthropologists have amazing tools based on our theories, based on our methods, and we are just made to succeed. I mean, we're just made to succeed because there was a movement of why the world needs anthropologists, and because of the value that they provide. So I think we, as an anthropologist, you are not, how can I say this? You're not allowed to fail because you have all the tools. You just have to be creative. You just have to, don't be afraid to fail. Mm-hmm. You just have to be brave and do things with no expectation to succeed. Just do it because it's fun, because it will lead you to somewhere else. As an anthropologist, I think you can start your own venture, whether as a consultant, whether as an entrepreneur, whether as a whatever, because you have the tools. You just have to go and do it and be brave about it.
Great. Yeah, appreciate that. And somebody who's in a similar space to you, I can really appreciate that comment, and I think that's a great way to end it. So is there any place that people should look you up? Anything, any social media or anything that you'd like to mention?
Yes, I am in LinkedIn, Oscar Barrera, PhD. I am also in Facebook with my own fan page, Oscar Barrera Núñez. And I have my website, Antropología Corporativa, or Antropología Corporativa.mx. And I have also my YouTube channel, which is Antropología Corporativa.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. And you can just contact me through my social media.
And I'll link to all of that, of course. Great. Well, Oscar, thanks very much. Appreciate you coming on. I know you're passionate about sort of getting the word out about business anthropology as well with your LinkedIn article. So I would suggest everybody look you up and follow your work. And thanks again for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. It was very fun and nice chatting with you and your audience.